excited for them to go back to school?
We're excited, yeah, but my middle one's starting first grade, so it's a new experience.
And so tell me about your kids.
Well, my oldest son, Christopher, he's severely autistic, he's nonverbal, and he did regress after his 14-month vaccinations. So he was completely normal. Then 10 days later, he had what we were told was a very normal vaccine reaction. High screaming, high fever, lethargy, but as that kind of went away, none of the skills that he previously had came back. He couldn't speak anymore, he didn't point anymore, he didn't clap anymore, and he basically just deteriorated.
And you directly attribute that to the vaccine?
I do.
Tell me, so really is he your oldest?
He is.
Okay, and then, so now you have your other two children
I do.
to consider. So when it comes time to vaccinate your other two children, how are you feeling when that decision comes?
Well, my other son is partially vaccinated. We did stop vaccinating him, and my daughter hasn't received any vaccines at all.
Talk a little louder, I can.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
Well, my other son is partially vaccinated. We stopped vaccinating him, and we did notice some adverse reactions, though not as serious. And my daughter's not vaccinated at all.
So obviously, people are going to question. I'm sure you're used to talking to people about that decision.
If they ask me, I don't force my opinion on other people, but if they ask about it, I'm happy to talk about it.
So when somebody says to you, "Hey, doctors say that being vaccinated is the safest, the best thing, not only for your children but the children that they're in school with," is there a justification that you come up with for why you made the decision for your family?
I listened to my doctor tell me that, and I vaccinated my child, and I lost him, essentially. So I'm not going to risk taking that chance with my other kids.
Now, so let's talk about choice.
Okay.
So like do you think at this point you need a choice for your other kids? I mean, if the State Department of Health tells you you have to vaccinate your kids for them to go to school, what do you say?
Well, we absolutely need a choice. On the one hand, there's no medicine or medical procedure that's without risk. Vaccines are not any exception. They're legally classified as unavoidably unsafe. So that means the government acknowledges that some children will have adverse reactions, including death. So I don't think you can have that risk and not have a choice associated with it.
So when it comes time to vote in the state legislature about whether or not you're going to get rid of a philosophical exemption, what do you want those who are voting to know?
Well, I want them to know that it's not a pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine issue. It's not a do vaccines cause autism issue. It's an issue of who has the right to make medical decisions for your family. And are we going to turn that completely over to the government, or are we going to uphold our constitutional right to consent to medical treatment?
And for you, this is a choice that keeps your family safe in your mind.
It's not just a choice that keeps my family safe. It's a choice that it's my right to make. Every family has to make that decision for their own children. The government isn't thinking about your kids 24/7. If they have an adverse reaction, the government isn't going to step in and help you. So every family has to live with the consequences of their choices. And adverse reactions aren't the only reason people oppose vaccination. They might oppose some of the ingredients in it. If you're very strongly against abortion, you might not want to get the vaccines that contain aborted fetal tissue. That should be your right too.
So some would say that is why there's a medical exemption.
A medical exemption?
For vaccinations in the state.
If you were very against abortion?
Well, if you're, that's maybe religious or
Okay.
potentially philosophical.
It's
For
philosophical, yeah.
Right, for your circumstance, medical.
Medical if you've already had a reaction. I don't know what made my son susceptible. I don't know that my other children aren't susceptible. I'm not going to wait until they experience a serious adverse event to get that medical exemption.
Good point. Now, the last question I really want to ask you is the tracking. Do you think it's important for the state to track how many kids are vaccinated?
Sure, for a number of reasons. Right now, we have the highest vaccination vaccinated rate. We have a generation of kids that's more vaccinated than any other. We also have the sickest generation of kids we've ever had. Over half of kids in America today have a chronic illness. 1 in 6 has a developmental disability. Even if you don't think that vaccines cause that, we can't say that this high vaccination rate in any way is making our kids healthier. So I think it's important that we do know the vaccination rate for a number of reasons. We also know that in the areas of so-called outbreaks, there's been very high vaccination rates, high enough where the CDC says herd immunity should be in effect and outbreaks occur anyway. So yeah, we need to know those rates just so that we have all the facts.
What do you think about the fact that there's flaws with how it's reported in Pennsylvania?
Oh, I think we need more accurate reporting, absolutely. We don't know right now what those rates cover. We don't know if they're only kids who've had the full vaccine schedule. We don't know where the kids who've had some vaccines but not others fall in that. If they count as the unvaccinated population or if they count as the vaccinated population.
What else do you want to tell me?
Basically what I've already told you, that we need to have a choice, especially where there's a risk, and that most parents I know are doing this because they're trying to make the best decision for the health of their children, and that should be a family decision, not a government decision.
Thank you. You're great.